So women are literally, the whole name that they're called after, feminine, females, it actually means lacking faith. All right. And I'm going to actually jump to back to the scriptures. We're going to go into Ecclesiastes. I'm going to go back to Genesis, but we're going to go to Ecclesiastes 7:28 really quick. All right, so at the bottom of the screen, and this is the King Solomon talking, the most wise man on the earth that ever walked the earth. And he said, this is what he said about women. Which yet my soul seeketh, but I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. Okay? And this is referring to the understanding of the scriptures, all right? Or the, faith, having faith in these scriptures. True faith, all right? Because you can't be a woman in this truth and then you find out that, your man can have multiple wives and you get pissed off and you reject that. Well, you're lacking faith. You're rejecting the truth. You're rejecting the law of Yahweh, all right? It's saying about you, to the women. But right here in verse 28, King Solomon says he's found one man out of 1,000 that has the faith and the understanding of this truth. But he didn't find one woman that had faith. And it goes back to that word, femina. Fe meaning faith, minus meaning minus, like minus faith, lacking faith. All right. So now I'm going to go to back to Genesis, and we were at 16:1. And so basically what happened was, reminding you, Sarah, she offered Hagar, her handmaid, to her husband, who became his wife in verse 3. It says, and Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abraham, to be his wife. All right, so now he had more than one wife, but it's lawful to do that, okay? Now I'm going to jump to Genesis, and we're going to go to 21, 1 through 3. All right, it says, and Yahweh visited, and I should say Elohim, and Elohim visited Sarah as he had said, and Elohim did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in old age, at the set time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. All right, so that's, now remember in the when Sarah offered the handmaid Hagar to Abraham, it was because she couldn't conceive. And now if you remember the Bible story, the biblical story of Abraham and Sarah, Sarah did conceive, and she was she was old in this time, and a lot of people looked at it like it was it was impossible for Abraham and Sarah to have the son Isaac, because they were both advanced in age, like it says in verse 2. All right. So I just wanted to show you that. And then I'm going to go to Genesis. We're staying in Genesis for a little while here. And then we're going to Genesis 29 and 21. Okay, and this is dealing with Jacob, our forefather Jacob, because his first wives were Rachel and Leah, and they were actually his cousins, because it was Sarah's brother Laban was the father of Jacob, our forefather, his wife, his first two wives, Rachel and Leah. All right, so looking at verse 21, and says, "And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her." And so what it was is they made a deal. Jacob, he loved Rachel. He was in love with Rachel, okay? And Leah, she was probably not as attractive as Rachel. So, what Laban did to him, though, he said, "Okay, now that you've served me 7 years, I'm going to give you my daughter." And he gave him Leah, when Jacob thought that whole 7 years he was working for Rachel under his uncle. So let me read it. And Jacob, this is verse 20. "And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him," or wait, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. Let's see. Well, just summarizing this whole story without having to read it. Jacob works, he thinks he's working for Rachel, and his uncle Laban gives him Leah after the 7 years was up. So they made an agreement: work 7 more years for your uncle Laban, and then you can have the other wife that you desire, Rachel, who she was probably she's probably the good-looking one, prettier sister. And that's the one Jacob was actually in love with, So right here we'll read it, since it was already coming out through the Spirit. Genesis 29:20. "And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her." So he loved her so much that 7 years only felt like a few days, because he couldn't wait to get wifed up with her. You know what I mean? And he already had Leah, So there's another example of, having more than one wife. Now we're going to go to, let's see, Genesis 29. Okay, I already did that one. We're going to 30, all right? And this is still dealing with Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. It says, "And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren." So Yahweh had compassion on Leah, because Jacob didn't love her like he loved Rachel. So he gave her the first sons, for Jacob, which were the 12 tribes, And it says Rachel was barren, meaning she couldn't have kids for that time, because Yahweh closed her womb. All right. And so, let's see. And basically, Rachel and Leah ended up having the 12 tribes, along with, as we're about to get into it right now. Actually, let me go back to that. 29 and 30. Okay, I lost that account. I'm not sure where the account is, but really quick, let's go to this. I'm going to close a few of these out. Let me Google family tree of Jacob. So if we go to the family tree of Jacob, it'll give you a breakdown. We'll get this. Let's see, hopefully this clears up. Okay, there it is. So now you can see right here, we're just starting in the middle here where it says Jacob. But if you look, it says Leah, Zilpah, Bilhah, and Rachel. And Zilpah and Bilhah were the servants, so they were like Hagar, all right, the handmaid of Sarah. But if you look at this, family tree here, shows you all the sons that were born, the 12 tribes of Israel, from these 4 women. Okay, again, dealing with the forefather Jacob, he had these 4 women that they were the ones who begat the sons of Israel, right? And you can read it right there. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Gad, Asher, Dan, Naphtali, Joseph, and Benjamin. All right, and you know, you can just look at that image. Shows you that Jacob, our forefather, he didn't just deal with one woman. All right, he had more than one woman, and this was lawful. Okay, so I just wanted to make that point. Now I'm going to go to Genesis 36 and verse 1. And now we're going to deal with, oh shoot. Let me see, this Bible app is acting up a little bit. Bear with me. We're going to go to Genesis and 36 verse 1. And now we're dealing with old punk ass Esau, all right, who is the forefather of the Edomites, the so-called white people. You know, there was even a time when Esau, you know, was lawful and having multiple wives, all right? And this is Genesis 36 and 2. Esau took his wives, not wife, wives of the daughters of Canaan, and showing you that, you know, Esau was a lawbreaker from the beginning, all right, in Genesis, because, you know, it was frowned upon to take daughters and wives from the land of Canaan, right? And then we'll read on. Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth. And Adah bare, well, so I'm not going to keep going, but that right there shows you that even Esau, the wicked, he had multiple wives, all right? But as the generations passed, he became corrupt. And, you know, by the time you had Greece and Rome ruling on the planet Earth, they were all fucked up, and they basically started pushing that doctrine of one wife, okay? And that's what you have in, you know, America today, because America is an extension of Rome, of the Roman Empire. All right, and if you don't believe it, you just look at the you know, one telling sign is the architect of the buildings. If you go to all the Capitol buildings in America, you know, the capital cities, and they're you know, wherever the capital is, those structures are built just like the structures were in Greece and Rome, all right, because it's the same people, all right. So now we're going to go to, we dealt with Esau's multiple wives. Now we're going to go to Exodus, and verse 2 and 21. And this one says, and Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. All right, showing you that Moses' first wife was named Zipporah, okay? But if you keep, you know, reading the scriptures and you read precepts, we can go to Numbers, and we'll go to 12 and 1. And now this time it says, let me read it. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And an Ethiopian woman would have been from the land of Canaan, or the land of, you know, a descendant of Ham, the Hamites, who are a cursed people. All right, so Miriam and Aaron, they took offense to that when Moses married this Ethiopian woman. All right, so now I just showed you two wives of Moses. All right, he had one in Exodus 2:21, who was Zipporah, and then in Numbers 12 and 1, which the Bible doesn't specify this woman's name, but she was an Ethiopian that he married, as it says in verse 1. Okay, and now I'm going to go to, let's see, we're going to go to 1 Kings, all right, 11. So let's go to 1 Kings 11, and we're going to deal with 1 through 3. This is dealing with the great King Solomon, All right, and he was legendary when it came to women. All right, let's read it. 1 Kings 11:1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, or the Chinese, the Ammonites, the Japanese, the Edomites, the so-called whites, the Zidonians, and the Hittites. All right, and I believe those ones are Hamites. All right, basically so-called Africans. But as you can see, the King Solomon, he had Japanese women, he had what you would call Chinese women, he had what you would call white women. King Solomon, he was he was a pimp. King Solomon, and not in a bad way. All right, but King Solomon had all the women he desired. Right, and then let's read verse 2. Of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. All right, so let me read on. And he had 700 wives. All right, so King Solomon was getting down. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. And remember, the word heart is lab in Hebrew, which actually means mind. So his mind was turned away, and that was his sin. His sin wasn't that he had 700 wives and 300 concubines, but his sin was that he allowed those women to he went so far as to setting up sacrificing to false doctrines and false gods of these women that he was dealing with, because he was dealing with Chinese women, he was dealing with Japanese women, white women, and all those other women. So they all these women changed his heart, which is his mind. They made him, while it was his choice, but he chose to set up altars to those false gods, and that's what pissed Yahweh off. All right, it wasn't that he had multiple women. All right. So now I'm going to move on to, let's see. We're going to go to 1 Chronicles and chapter 3. Let's see, 1 Chronicles 3, and we'll just go to 1. All right, so this is an account of David, the King David, who was Solomon's father, his wives. All right. Now these were the sons of David, which were born unto him in Hebron: the firstborn Amnon and Ahinonah, the Jezreelites; the second Daniel of Abigail, the Carmelitess. So Abigail is the woman who was his wife in this verse. All right, the other ones were his sons. And I'm actually going to go to the Bible because I had highlighted the names of the wives. So bear with me real quick it's just easier if I look at it in my actual scripture in my Bible. So we're in verse 3, chapter 3. So I just highlighted the names of these women. And in verse 2, his other wife was Haggith. All right. Talks about all her sons he had with her. Then Eglah in verse 3. He had a couple kids with her also. And then, obviously in verse 5. Verse 5, it's talking about Bathsheba, who is actually Bathsheba, the one that, Yahweh was pissed off for that one, because if you remember, King David had her husband Uriel killed in the battle so he could take Bathsheba as his own wife. So that pissed Yahweh off, and he ended up paying big time for that sin. But out of Bathsheba, Solomon was her son also, King Solomon. So not all bad came out of that marriage, And then if you look to verse 9, it says, "These were all the sons of David, beside the sons of the concubines and Tamar their sister." So it didn't even mention, basically what it's saying is he even had sons with concubines, all right? So also the King David had many women, you know. He wasn't doing it like Solomon, but he had many women, all right? And now I'm going to go to let's go to 2 Chronicles 11:21. And this one is dealing with Rehoboam, who was Rehoboam was the king of, when the nation of Israel split up, he was the, northern kingdom king. So, you had you had Solomon, and then you had Rehoboam. Solomon was the king of Judah, the Jews, which were Israelites, but the kingdom split into two, and Rehoboam was the appointed king for the northern kingdom, Israel, okay? Who was Israel? You had basically two kingdoms, Judah and Israel, all right? So Rehoboam, who he was also a man who had multiple wives. And if we read verse 21 here, it says, "And Rehoboam loved Maachah, the daughter of Absalom, above all his wives and his concubines. For he took 18 wives and 80 concubines, and begat 28 sons and 80 daughters." So he had all kinds of kids also, and it said right there he had 18 wives. All right. So again, this is lawful. It is lawful to have multiple women, okay, according to the scriptures, the holy scriptures, might add. The next verse I want to pull out really quick is going to be Matthew. Let's see, and we're almost done here. Matthew, and we're going to go 5:17 through 20. And what does it say? It says, this is Yahushua talking, all right? "Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill," all right? So he's telling you right there, he did not come to destroy the law, all right? So it is lawful to have multiple women, wives, okay? There are some stipulations, like you can't just, what it is you can't put your wife away and then go replace her with another one. No, you can get another one, but you're not on the account of you putting, like basically trading one out, No, you're supposed to keep your wife, and you can get another wife, but you can't put that other one away, Because it's better to have, one wife. It's better to have, if you have two wives, it's better to have one that you don't like and another one that you like more than to put that other one away just because you don't like her and then get another one, if that makes sense. All right, that's the sin, is if you put her away to get a replacement. No, you just got to get a replacement and not put her away. All right, but showing you the lack of faith women have, because they're not gonna, hearken to that law. Women in this society tell you you're crazy for wanting to have more than one wife. All right. So now I'm gonna jump to Matthew again, and we're gonna go to 19 and verse 1, and it says, let me see. Okay, well, we're going to go to... Okay, we're going to go to verse 9. I'm sorry, I wrote it down wrong. In Matthew 19:9, it says, "And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery, and whoso marrieth her, which is put away, doth commit adultery." So right here, when it says fornication, like I said before in my lessons, Fornication is not always dealing with sex, all right? The original fornication is idolatry, all right? So meaning anything that's an idol, you know? If you put in anything, whatever you're putting ahead of Yahweh and this truth, that becomes an idol. So in this case, it's talking about a wife, meaning if your wife is going off on the truth, you know, and she's like Solomon's wives, he was taking strange women from other nations, heathen women, and then he was, you know, if you think about it, it happens today in today's society. You see a man get married to a woman. He may marry an Asian woman, and next thing you know, he's going to the Buddha with her, you know. And what if he's an Israelite? Then he's fornicating. I mean, she caused him to fornicate, you know, meaning she caused him to do idolatry, all right? If an Israelite who's in this truth, and you start dating a Edomite, you know, and you start going to the Christian church, and you start praising Jesus Christ instead of Yahweh Shai. That's an example of fornication and idolatry, all right? So let me read this verse again. It says, "And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery, and whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery." So if you put your wife away and you get another wife, that's unlawful. But if you just get another wife and you keep your wife because she hasn't done any fornication, or she didn't cheat on you, she's still following the laws and the commandments with you, she's still serving you, which is her place because she's a woman, and the word woman means servant. So if she's lawful, then you're better off just getting another wife. It's not lawful for you to put her away and then get another wife, because now you're replacing her, especially if she was, if she was keeping the laws and commandments and serving you, then she didn't do nothing wrong. But if you put her away, and she didn't break the laws or the commandments, and then someone else goes and hooks up with her, now they are both committing adultery, and so are you for putting her away while she was keeping the law. All right, so I hope that makes sense. I'm going to move to... Oh, shoot. This phone acting up a little bit. Or maybe it's the app. See, and that's the devil right there trying to mess with this lesson, because I only had 2 more verses I wanted to bring out. So let's see. Lord willing, this app will start working.